Hello. Start. Start. Anyone is there? That's it. Hello. Good night. Holy, wonderful, and compassionate Father, our God of hosts. Thank you for life. Thank you for everything that you have done for us and what you're about to do. Bless me in the way that I need to be blessed. Oh my God, cover me under your blood. Guide my thoughts and touch me with my lips with one of your hot coal from your furnace, O Lord God of hosts. In the mighty name of your Son Jesus Christ, I pray. Amen. Amen. Hello, good night. Is there Nadine? Nadine? Dean? Anyone is there? Yeah. Okay.
Come over.
No, why you don't stay over there?
Move over, just move over.
Mind the car. Where did I turn off the light?
No.
Hmm?
No.
No one is there, is it?
Oh, we want somebody to pee.
Okay.
Yeah, want somebody come on now. She name Miracle.
Hello. Good night, Miracle. How are you doing? This is your blind motivational speaker, Dean White, speaking. Thanks for being here. Thanks for coming to this live. I am grateful that you have taken time out of your busy schedule to be here with me to hear what I have to say. And I hope that tonight be a blessing to both you and I in every sense of the word. Okay? I had decided to start at exactly 7 o'clock. Thank you for being on time, Miracle. And I guess whether there's anyone else here or not, I will have to start. So, how are you doing? Okay. So, Miracle, I'm going to start with you because I I'm pleased to see that you have made it on time and is here. So, tonight I would like to speak about a subject that I titled The Wickedest Mom Ever, our mother ever. Now, I want to speak with my viewers, right, just to give them some insight and details about things that I have been through since I was growing up as a child. And it was between the time of my birth until I was 6 years old. Okay. At this time was when I lived with my mother. Okay. But before I go into that, I would like you to know I am discussing a few things here, not to be disrespectful. I must say, my mom and her husband died tragically in 2009. And when she passed from this world, she was a very God fearing woman. All who knew her loved her, including myself. But I am just saying and doing this live to let persons know that really and truly persons are able to change. Person can change, especially when they encounter or had an encounter with God. You understand? Now, when I was in the womb, my mother had me. She was living in a part of Kingston that was called Anatown. Okay, I was born at the Victoria Jubilee Hospital. It was sometime in the middle of the 1970s. Okay, and during this time, the economy in Jamaica was not very stable because there was a few things that was going to happen, which meant that the 1980 election was going to come up, and political party members from opposite side had their disagreement, and there was a war during that time coming up to the 1980 election. Now, I was born, and when I was born as a child who was sick. When I was born, I had a condition called asthma. Okay, it was very serious to the point where I had to be hospitalized from birth. And based on what I was informed by my mom herself, it was so severe that the doctors had to do something where my head was concerned in order to get me to breathe properly. Okay. As early as I can remember, I must say I remember when I was just a boy living in Anatown with my mother. And at the time, she had one child with her. But by that time, she had three children. But I, along with my brother, which was the third one, was with her living in Anatown. The second child that she had was not with us at the time because he was living with his father. Now, it was a time when there was a war going on, and I can remember as a boy, I would see the helicopter flying above, and I could hear explosions going on all around the community. There was bombs going off. There was sounds of bullets going off. I remember leaning on the gate to the yard that I was living in, and while leaning on the gate with my back turned to the road and looking at the sky to watch the helicopter that was flying about, I felt something juke me in my back. When I turned around, it was a soldier. I immediately ran from the gate and went into the little boat structure in that yard that my mother had rented to live in. Okay? When I went in there to my mom, I let her know that there were soldiers in the yard. She informed me that go under the house and hide. Now, the house that we lived in was a house that was on a board house that was on a structure where it was like there was a little block at that end, some blocks at this end. So the house wasn't flat on the ground, it was on some pillars. But they were very short pillars, so we could go under the bottom of the house.
Mom, mom, let me see.
I was
Mom and a minute. Say good night, baby.
Good night, viewer. Thank you for being here with us.
Okay,
You know. So thanks for being here. Now I went under the house as I was told, but where I went, I could see exactly what was taking place inside of the house due to the fact that there was some of the board missing from the floor. Well, the soldiers came in and they went inside the house where my mom was living. The room was very small. At that time, we only had a bed, a little table with a small black and white TV on top of it. And that black and white TV was a TV that my mother had credited. Now, bear in mind that my mom had me when she was only 15 years old. And by the time she was 19, she was with three children. Okay? So the soldiers came in and they started to question her. At the time she had the baby, which she get up off the bed with in her hand, and they were, where is your man? Where's the gunman that you're involved with? And she was denying by saying, I do not know what you're talking about. I am not involved with any such person. And they questioned her continuously. When she was not forthcoming with any information whatsoever, one of the military guys that was there kicked over the little small black and white TV. I remember that due to the fact that we used to watch cartoon on that TV, and the cartoon that we used to watch was Bigfoot and Wild Boy. You know, after kicking over that little TV, they came out of the house and they left the premises. So all four of them went back through the gate. The gate was then closed and they went on their way, but helicopter was still flying overhead. I remember still looking at the helicopter that was overhead, and I heard a sound, and when I turned to look on the wall that was behind the house, I saw a gentleman that had no shirt on in his pants and had a very huge firearm in his hand. It was not a factory made, it was an homemade weapon. I remember that gentleman pointing that firearm at the helicopter, and I heard a loud explosion. And at the time, I remember seeing metal falling from the helicopter when it was hit by the gentleman weapon. For a period of time, the helicopter disappeared. We did not hear it flying over anymore, and there were still explosions and bullets firing. The sound of gunshot was all around till hours after night. We still went to sleep in that building, and the following day, I remember my mother leaving that community and going down to King Street where we moved to. Okay, we moved to go and live at King Street, and at King Street we went to live in another board dwelling. This board dwelling was a bedroom that had a small veranda at the front, and it was also very low, right? It was not directly on the ground, but it was low. And the way this building designed and was positioned, a portion of the building was on the ground in a way where topsoil would be seen at one point. Some of the wood of the floorboard was rot, and we lived there for a number of years. I remember when rainfall at that house,
Oh, c'est pas, she
we
said
had,
she said the can slowly so you can type until 5 minutes. 5 minutes have passed. That money.
yeah man, that's settings. So we that's the setting that it was on. We lived in a building where when the rain fall, there was water coming down on the wall, and then there would be some very long earthworm going up. So while the water was coming down on the back of the wall, which was the only concrete part of this building, was the back of the wall. The worms were coming out of the dirt and coming up on the wall. My mother also made sure that the floor was covered with cardboard. So some part of the floor was covered with cardboard. Now, when my mom moved to this location, she made sure that she collected back our brother, which was the second one that was born after me. Okay, I was the first child. My brother was born about a year and some months after me, and the baby that she had was born later. So that baby was born sometime in 1980. Okay, now we lived at this premises, and I realized that from time to time, I and my brother would be left at the house by ourselves. Sometimes my mother would take the baby with her, other times she would not. Other times, I and my brother and the baby would be left at the house, and I was asked to make sure that the baby was fed. Now, please remember, I was just a child, and I realized that I had to grow up very quickly. When my mom left, I was left with two other children. I was approximately 4 plus years old at the time, 4 plus years old, and I would be left to take care of the baby. What she would do before she leave was she would give me some porridge in a pot. She would inform me that when the baby wake, I should feed him the porridge. Okay? After informing me of that, I remember that there was a day when she left me with some porridge to feed the baby. I, my brother, and the baby was there. And when she left, she did not leave anything for us to eat. But she left some porridge for the baby, and she informed me that I should give the baby the porridge to drink. For the entire day that we were there, I fed the baby the porridge, and I realized that she wasn't coming home. It reached somewhere in the 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock there, and while feeding the baby the porridge, we were hungry. So the baby had drink his porridge, and we full the bottle again so that I could give the baby some more porridge when the baby was ready. I then went ahead and took some of the porridge out of the pot and gave my brother who was with me. And after giving my brother who was with me, there was nothing left more than bun in the porridge pot because the cornmeal porridge had catch at the bottom. Thank you for being here, viewers. Miss Shireen, thank you for being on this live. Okay, thank you, thank you. Now, I remember taking a spoon and sat down with the pot. And while scraping the bun from the pot to eat, she approached. When she came in, she saw what I was doing, and immediately she got upset. And she said to me at the time, I left you here with the porridge to feed the baby, and you there drink it off. And she took the pot and hit me in the head with the pot. I remember when she hit me with the pot, I was very afraid, and because of this, I tried to run, and my mother was angry in such a way that she grabbed me by the hand, and after grabbing my arm, I remember pulling away, and by pulling away, we were now going through the door of the little board veranda and into the yard. The baby was still asleep, and my brother was still in the house with the little porridge that I gave him in the cup.
You should say, whoa, this sad.
When I
That's
reached
sad.
in the yard, I remember she looked about and saw a piece of electric wire. And when she saw the electric wire, she took the wire and she started wheeling on me with that electric wire from all handle. I eventually escaped out her hand, but when I escaped her hand, I fell, and this time she grabbed me by the feet. And when she grabbed me by the feet, I was now partially upside down. And let me tell you, the wire was going around my belly, around my back, in my face, across my head, my ears, and I was getting licked from all handle with that electric wire. I remember escaping again, and immediately I ran to the front of the yard that we live in and ran down the step. And while I was running down the step, she was behind me with the wire. I ran through the gate and was now on King Street. And when I reached on King Street, she was behind me with the wire. I remember running and running up the street until I run to a little room where they
Oh, that is correct.
kept this place as a small police station. When I ran into this little police station, there was only one policeman in there. And I run to the policeman and hugged his foot so tight that it was as if I didn't want to let go the gentleman foot. Ah, um, she was pursuing me so much that she ran right into the station with the wire in her hand. And I remember the policeman saying to her, "You wicked little, what's it not? Go in at the cell over there, so." The cell was just a small room with some grill, some bars, and the door could be locked. And she refused to move with the wire in her hand. At the time, the single policeman was the only one there, and he put me on the chair that he was sitting in. And when he put me in the chair, he went over there and tell her to go in the room and sit down. And she refused again. And I remember him pulling her and dragging her to that room. And when he put her in there, he put her to sit in there on some cement that was there and closed the door. The policeman then took me to the children's hospital. When he took me to the children's hospital, I was admitted to the children's hospital. And while admitted to the children's hospital, I was there for a number of days. I remember the doctors there had to bathe me with warm water. I was cut all over. I had blood all over the marina that I had on, blood all over the brief, blood all over the legs, my ears, my face. A portion of my head was bleeding, and the doctors had to use warm water to wipe the blood that dried up all over my body. I was treated, medicated, and was there for a while until one day I was told that someone is there to see me. The nurse then took me to an area where I saw her, and when I saw her, she was there with a dish of food that had bully beef and cabbage with white rice she brought. When she gave me the food and I sat there with her, I remember that tears started coming from my eyes to the point where the food started tasting salty. It was tasting very salty, guys. Right? She then took me home and I was there again. While there again with my brothers, we would play outside in the yard, but she would left strict instructions saying to me, don't go through the gate. Don't make them go through the gate. Now the baby still wasn't walking. Okay? And she said we must not go through the gate. At the time, in the yard that we were in, there was only two of us. And we could stay in the yard and look over into the road, but the road was very busy. Persons on the sidewalk selling sky juice, vendors selling, and all of that. In order to amuse ourselves, we made some paper kites and we would tie the card to the paper kite and run with the paper kite. And the kite was going up. And from time to time, what happened while we were running, we didn't have enough space to run to heist those kites. So I, along with my brother, would go through the gate and we would run on the sidewalk. Paper kite would go up into the air and sometime each on the light wire. When the kite each on the light wire, we would then go back inside, start making another kite, and so on. Right? I remember one day we were doing just that, flying the paper kites, and it caught on the wire again, and she told us not to go out there. But when she came, we were outside the gate on the sidewalk. She immediately grabbed us, and my brother ran inside, and I was held and taken inside. After my mom take us inside, she then said to me, "You're not here. Look how much time I tell you not to go through the gate." When she said that, she then said, "All right, you're not here." My mother then took me to an area at the front of the house. And where she took me, there was a very big black ant's nest. And I remember she tied me to the house pole right there and left me in that black ant's nest. And let me tell you, ants leave that nest and they were all over my body to the point where ants even bite me inside my mouth. Ants bite me all over the body, all over the face, testicle. There was nowhere on my body that ants did not bite. And I must say, I will never forget that either. I remember I was left there, and after leaving there with my brothers, she informed us that, listen, don't leave out the yard again, and she left. And when I and my brother was there trying to find something to amuse ourselves, he was someone who sucked finger, and I sucked finger as well. But at the time, my belly button was very big, so while sucking my big finger, I would have my hand playing with my navel as if it was a guitar string. And we would take out the condoms that were there and we would take them to the pipe. Some of them would blow up, some of them we catch water in, and after doing that for a while, it got boring, and then my brother decided to lift up the meter iron. Now we had this little concrete structure that the meter was in. There was a metal covering it, and when he lifted the iron up, eventually it fell on his hand and it started bleeding. When she came and I told her what happened, she said she told me not to leave the yard and me make him finger burst. And I remember that I got a proper beating that day. Okay, I was beaten badly. After realizing that when she told me not to leave the yard, I would go outside. My mother started thinking of different ways to make sure that I did not leave the yard whatsoever. So when she was leaving, sometime I realized that she took the baby with her, but she tied me up inside the house. She had some pieces of cloth which were very strong strips that she used to tie both my hands at time, and she tied them to the bed foot, and she went where she was going, and for hours I would be there, sometime from morning till evening. I would be there, and if I urinate up the spot, I was then beaten properly again. After a time, I started realizing that I could use my mouth to pull the tie. So I started using my mouth, pulling the tie, and when I pulled the tie, I used to go outside. But when I go outside, I would stay close to the wall and watch to see if she was coming. Okay? I'd watch and watch and watch to see if she was coming. And when I did not see her and I believe it was almost time for her to come, I'd go back inside the house and tie back the tie. I remember one evening when she came in, she said to me, if I go outside, and I said no. And she said, who pulled the tie? And I said, nobody. And she informed me that the tie was pulled. And I said, no, you never pull. Nobody not pull it. And even though I said that it was not pulled, I remember beating again. One day she left, and when she left the house, and this time she still did not leave anything for me to eat. But I remember that porridge was left again because of what happened to me when I ate the porridge bun. I didn't even taste the porridge or even what I did was give the baby the porridge and give the brother a little. But I stayed hungry throughout the entire time. I went outside the gate, and while on the sidewalk, a gentleman said to me that, um, come here, carry this go across the road, you get a virgin there for me. And he gave me a bag to take to the virgin across the road. When I crossed King Street and gave the gentleman the bag, the gentleman gave me $1, and it was a paper dollar at the time. I remember after receiving that paper dollar, I went to the sky juice card. And I bought a bun and cheese and a sky juice with that paper dollar. When I bought the bun and cheese and the sky juice with the paper dollar, I went inside the yard and I gave my brother piece of the bun and cheese and was drinking the sky juice when she stepped into the yard. And when she stepped into the yard, she said to me, "What that you eat?" And I said, "Bun and cheese and sky juice." And she said to me, say, "Where you get it from?" And I said, "A virgin, give me." And she said, "Which virgin?" And I say, "The gentleman at the car there." So she said to me, say, "Make sure I know the dollar when me have on the window you take out and use it." And I said, "No, mommy. I didn't use the dollar. I didn't even know money was there, so I didn't trouble anything." When I said that, she didn't say anything. She just said, "Okay." I remember that early in the morning, my mom wake, and when she wake up, she got her cheese pan and she full that cheese pan. No, not full. It was about little bit over half. We had this big round cheese pan that she catch with water and she put it on to a little stove that we have, which was a little personal stove with a little personal glass bottle that was turned upside it down. And I remember she put the cheese pan on that and light it. And after she light it, the water boil up. And when the water boil up, it was there on the stove still. And she went inside the house. And when she went inside the house, I don't know what happened, but she called me. And when I went to her, she said to me, "How much time I tell you not to tell lie?" And I said to her, "I wasn't telling any lie." And when I said that to her, she held on to my two hands then. And my mother then took my two hands and sink them into that cheese pan of boiling water. And she held my hand then to the bottom of that cheese pan for a long period of time. It was there for a very long period of time. And while my hands were in that cheese pan for that period of time, I remember feeling as if I was going to die because I was feeling so much pain with the water boiling up on my hands, and I couldn't do nothing, couldn't do anything whatsoever. She held the water, the hand in the pan so long that I must tell her that really and truly there was nothing I could do. Me just I cry still, but I couldn't do nothing at all. Um, my hand burn up, and my hand burn up. The two hands then burn up very bad. It burn comes straight up to about somewhere here, so. And she leave me there in the yard for a while, and while I was there, it was the skin on my hands them start getting black. The skins them start changing to the point where my hand like it was now stripping and all of that. And she then took me to the children's hospital. And while I was going to the hospital, she told me to tell the doctors when I reach up that it's baby team me I look after and it burn up my hand. When I reach up there, the doctor said, "What happened to your hand?" And I said to the doctor, "I was looking after the baby tea and it burned up my hand." Well, the doctor took something, a metal thing there, and he picked off the skins from the back, the entire part here and the entire part over here. He took off the skins with the metal thing. And I remember him coating the hand with one yellow, one yellow medication, I think it was. And I remember him putting something like mesh over the hand, and mesh was over the both hands, and they were plaster parish. They were wrapped and wrapped and wrapped. They were wrapped, and both my hands were wrapped. Both my hands were wrapped, and I was there at the hospital. And while there at the hospital, I was admitted again for a period of time. And I and a lot of other children were there, and we were there. And after a time, I was playing Superman and all of that. And she came back to get us, get me as a matter of fact. And when she collect me, reach back home again, I thought to myself, it was done. You know, my mother wouldn't bother beat me again or do anything to me. I must say, the doctor had told me when I told him that it was baby T me look after and burn up my hand say, that could not be true, young man, because if you was looking after baby T and it burn up your hand, it couldn't burn up your two hands. So when the doctor said that to me, I thought to myself that, well, at least him know, say, I couldn't be looking after baby T and it burn off my two hands then. So I figured that while I was at children, I would be safe from her, and nothing like this would ever happen again. Um, I was sent back to her. She came, got me, and we went back to the same place where we was living. And while we were there, I remember trying my best not to play, and I reached a point where I didn't even want to be playing or sitting there much with my brothers because the baby was still small, and the other one, he was there sometime because sometimes his father took him and sometimes she had him, so we were still there. After a time I started playing back with my brother, and we had a breadfruit tree in the yard, and we started flying back kites because the plaster was removed from my hands, and my hand was feeling back to normal, but they were very pale. It was as if my hand was light, very light. It wasn't any dark complexion, it was very light, but the knuckles area had a little dark shade, but everywhere else on both the fingers them and up here was light. And we started playing again, and eventually I was flying a kite one day, and this time she left again. And when we were flying the kite, um, she came back in. And when she came in, she went to cook something. So while we were flying the kite itched in that little breadfruit tree that we had in the yard. After the kite itched in the breadfruit tree, I climbed the breadfruit tree, went up there to get the kite. But when I went up there to get the kite, she came out, and when she came out, she didn't see me in the yard. So she was like, Dean, Dean. At the time, she had a Dutch pot and the cover in her hand. So when she called me and I answered, I was in the tree, and my mother looked up and saw me in the tree and just sealed the pot cover straight into the tree on me, and the pot cover connect me straight into the stomach. And I remember when the pot cover hit me, my leg of the tree and dropped, you know, and When I fell to the ground, all she did was go your bed. And when she tell me go on my bed, I was under pain, still hungry. Okay? Didn't get anything to eat that night. In the morning, when I wake up, I went to sit by the doorway, and I was sitting by the doorway, and at the doorway we had a rubber mat, and the rubber mat that we had at the doorway, I was there playing with the mat, but for some reason I went and put the mat in my mouth because the mat was rubber. And when she saw that, she dragged the mat, and when she dragged the mat tear. I did not even know that wire was inside the mat, but there was some fine wire inside the mat, and the fine wires that was inside the mat cut my big teeth, them, the firm teeth, them that I had here in two. The wire sliced the teeth itself, right? The wires sliced the two front teeth that I had in two, and the wires sliced the teeth and go up to a point where it was almost into the gum. And I remember that she had to drag them out, right? When she took the mat. In order to get the mat out of my mouth, she had to drag them out. And it was very painful. Guys, I was there, and she started sending me to a basic school. And this basic school was right down by the parade at a upstairs building. And when I went to this basic school, I would feel very safe, and because I was interacting with children other than my brother. And there was this little girl at the basic school that was a nice little girl who decided and tell everyone in the class that I was her boyfriend. Now, at this basic school, because I was kind of withdrawn, they would try to fight me on a regular basis. But instead of fighting back, the girl that said I was her boyfriend was the one who fought. She would grab them and deal with them proper where the fighting was concerned. And I and her were very good friends. We were close, and I considered her to be my girlfriend just as though she said I was her boyfriend. Right? Now, at this basic school where we went, my mother did not give us lunch. I had to come downstairs because my grandmother sell right at the entrance to the basic school, which was her mother. My grandmother, she sell right at the entrance. And on a daily basis, I would come down and get my cheese countries or my animal crackers. And after getting my animal crackers or my cheese countries, I went back up because that was my lunch. You understand? And I remember that one day when school was over and I came down to go home, the little girl that said I was her boyfriend, parents came, and she tell her mother that see her boyfriend here, and her mother said to me, yes, what's your name? And I tell her my name was Dean White. And when I told her my name was Dean White, she said, Dean White, you sure? And I said yes. And she said, who is your father? And I told her my father's name. And she said to me, describe him. And I say, he's a little short man, right? And him ride one bike. And she said, you sure? And when she said, you sure? I say, yes, I know him. Because we go down to him workplace Because from time to time, my mother would take me down to Kingston Wharf to collect money, or she would take me to a clinic. And when she was taking me to the clinic, she had to collect a Red Cross or Blue Cross. Um, it was like a card. She used to have to collect from him to take to the clinic with me so she can get me look after and get medication and stuff like that. So I knew what my father looked like. But even though I knew what my father looked like, when she took me where he was, it was as if I never get any time with him whatsoever. Because it wasn't where I was left with him and all of that. No, she was always there, and even if he was there, he was like an arm's length. It was as if I couldn't even touch him or him couldn't even take me up. You understand? No way, shape, or form. My father was not even allowed to say hug me, and I did not even know why or what it was about. So when I told the lady that I knew him and described him and stuff, she said, "All right, tomorrow." And I left.
As I love you, son, you know, buy your juice car, ever buy me things and things. So. Fruit
Thanks,
punch, soda, beer.
thanks,
Yeah.
thanks. May
Yeah,
I do
man.
a live, so take time, please. Sorry, guys. Sorry. Um, Thanks for coming to the live. I appreciate your presence. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Okay. Appreciate you for being here, guys. Love. Now, the lady informed me that tomorrow, and I went home, she went home. And after I went home and she went home, I remember coming to school the other day. And when I came to school the other day, oh, before we got there, when she held my hand, oh, okay, no, don't reach there. We, yes, the lady said tomorrow. And when I went home that day, my mother was in the yard and she was there doing some little cleanup and such. And when she was doing her cleanup, she took up some of the cardboard off the floor from the house to do her sweeping and stuff. And when she took up a piece of the cardboard off the floor, she find the dollar that she sunk my hand into the cheese pan of boiling water for. I remember when she found the dollar, she took up the money and she stopped sweep same time, and she ran to the front of the house and she sat down, and she was there sitting for a long period of time. She sat there and she sat there and she sat there and she sat there. And the way she was sitting there long, I thought to myself that we not get no dinner today. Today we will not be eating any dinner. But after a while she got up, finished sweep the house and put back some cardboards, and she moved on to cooking. I went back to school the following day, and when I went back to school the following day, the lady that told me tomorrow, when school over, I remember that she was at the school entrance waiting. And when she was at the school entrance waiting, she said, Dean, and I say yes, and she said to me, say, you know your father? And I say, yes, miss. And she said to me, say, is him that? So when she say if it's him that, and I turn and look, it was yes, my father was standing beside over on the other hand, and he was smiling, and when he was smiling he said I should come. I remember when he said I should come, my grandmother was like, come where? I'm not going anywhere. And my father said to me that, listen, Dean, this is your auntie, and this girl is your cousin, which was the same little girl that used to fight for me and said I was her boyfriend was my cousin, and I did not know. Okay, and the woman that was her mother was my auntie, and I did not know. And when I look, I and my cousin was going to the same school, and my father told me to come with him. I remember him go on the bike and him wait until I step on the pedal and go up and go over, and him say me for hold on round him waist, and I hold on around his waist, and he started the bike while my grandmother was still there arguing with herself because he wasn't paying her any mind, and my auntie and her daughter went their way. You understand me? So my father rode off on the bike, and when he rode off on the bike, he went to an area right there, so where the Jubilee Market was, right? And I remember when he was riding the bike by the Jubilee Market, something slide away the bike tire, and I and him and the bike fell in the road. And when we fell in the road, him said to me, say, you alright, Dean? And I say, yes, daddy. And him take up the bike and him start back the bike. And when him start back the bike, I went back on the back. And when I went back on the back, him start riding again. And we didn't stop riding until him reach his yard that was at a place in Maxfield called Alexander Road, right? When we reach Alexander Road, um, I was there for about 2 weeks, and while there for the 2 weeks, I remember one day my mother came, right? And when she came, she was quarreling and crying, say she want her pitney, and Fran him take her pitney, look how her pitney I get maga. Now to tell you the truth, I didn't think I was getting maga, and I was glad not to be where my mother was. Okay? I was very glad not to be where she was. I heard her say these things, and I started looking at my father because I remember that sometime while she was beating me, she would say, it's you your favor, your dirty pooper. And I thought to myself that maybe me resembling for true. You understand? So when I was looking at him as a young child, that was what was going through my mind. He informed her that, all right, come for him weekend. That was what he told her, to come for me in the weekend. And she left. When she left, I remember the following day, my father got some clothes for me and all of that, and him put me on the bike. And while him put me on the bike, him start the bike, and before him start the bike. I remember that the same day. Okay. Yes, guys, listen. The day that I was brought to Alexander Road, and that day I stepped off the bike on the side that had the muffler, and the muffler had burned me on my feet. The muffler burned me on my foot, so that day I had the bike falling in the street with me and my father and the muffler burning me on the feet. Eventually, when she was told to come for me on the weekend, I was then taken to a place in Manchester called Red Bank. It was just a small distance from Royal Flat. Okay, I remember even though my father tell her to come for me weekend, he did not wait for her to come for me weekend. He had took me to the country where he left me with his mother and father and some brother and sister that he had there, whom were my grandparents and aunt and uncle. I was the only child there. There was no other child. Everyone was big, fully grown. Okay. I remember that there was a teenager there, which was one of my auntie, that was going to Belfield High School. Okay. But apart from that, I was the only child there. Um, Guys, when I reached to this country, I thought to myself that yes, I am okay because I am now far away from my mother and I would be safe where I was. And let me tell you, this was not a place that I believe I should have been. And the reason I said this was because when I reached this country, I wasn't 6 years old as yet. I was still five something. And even though I was five something, I can remember that Nadine, can you pass that bucket for me? Please. Let me. Guys, this bucket is 5 gallon bucket. Yes. Put down about this. I was given one of these 5 gallon buckets. While I was there every morning, I was woken up and I was given one of these buckets. And I was sent a good distance from the house to go to the standpipe. And I was to fill that bucket and bring it back with water to fill a drum that was at the side of the house. And guys, I would go down to the standpipe, and the standpipe was very far. And sometime when I reached the standpipe, there was persons at the standpipe before me, and I had to wait until they were finished, and then I filled the bucket. And let me tell you, when I filled that bucket, I had to strain to lift up that bucket and put the bucket on top of my head as a 5 year old. The bucket had a round part in the middle of the bucket that when the bucket come on my head, it starts squeeze. And from time to time, I was doing this so often that it was as if I had no neck because it seems as if my neck sank down into my body. based on how often I carry the bucket. It was as if my neck was getting short and my head was going to join to my chest because on a daily basis I had to get the bucket and go to the standpipe and full the drum that was at the side of the house. And sometimes while trying to full that drum, they were using the water from the drum while I was going to the standpipe and coming back. Guys, they were using the water. So when I come and think that I would be halfway where the drum was concerned, I wasn't nowhere. Okay. Sometime I would make 10, 11, 12 trips and the drum was never full. Same way. And after making those trips to full that drum, right, about 12 or 1 o'clock in the middle of the day, um, my grandparents would say I should go and get another bucket of water at the standpipe and carry go give the cows them. And after going to the standpipe, I had to fill that bucket and then take that bucket of water and take to the cow. And when the cow finished drink out of that bucket of water, my grandfather would say, drink the rest. The water enough your waste and it builds stamina. Listen me, when you took up that bucket of water to drink at time, the amount of slime the cow left in the bucket wasn't funny, it wasn't normal. But because I was instructed to drink the rest, I had to drink it. Okay? I was believing his word when he said it will give me strength and stamina because even though I was that small, I was very strong. Okay? I was very strong. I remember there was never any break for me while being down there in the country. There was no break whatsoever. Anytime I was not doing something, I was either going to the farm, and when I went to the farm, I was either putting down the potato slip the way my grandfather tell me to put them down, or burying them into the soil as he showed me. Okay, and bear in mind, I am telling you that I wasn't even 6 as yet, and I was doing that. Apart from that, when I wasn't doing that, you would give me some crocus bag with either sweet potato or yam to carry home. And sometimes the bag was very heavy and we were a good distance. So then I would be taking that home. When I was not doing that, we had some family member that was 10 miles away from where we lived. And my grandfather would be telling me to take up the little bag that he gave me and come with it because we are go up there. And we had to walk 10 miles and I had load at the time. You understand me? And sometimes him have load, sometimes he did not. And we had to walk that 10 mile to get to that place. Sometimes we didn't come back the same day. We come back on a different day. Okay? I remember when I wasn't doing that, we had a coffee walk and I was told to go to the coffee walk and pick up the rat cut coffee. Now, listen, my guys. My grandparents had coffee walk and orange trees and pear trees, and let me tell you, cassava trees and all of that. And the coffee walk, when I am not picking coffee off the tree, I am picking up the coffee grains them from the ground. When I have finished picking up the coffee grains them from the ground, I'm being sent back to pick up the black coffee from off the ground because they have some coffee that was black in the shell and everything, and you'd have to pick up those. Those were also parched and used to make coffee because they were also coffee beans. So I had no time whatsoever. Every hour of the day, if I was not doing that, I would be washing plates. And when we were washing plates, we weren't using Scotch Brite and stuff like that. No, we were using the coconut bowl thing where we tear off the hucks off of the coconut and we would be using a part of that to wash the plate. Or we cut a crocus bag and we use that into the soap water to wash the plates. If I wasn't doing that, I would be sweeping the yard, and the yard was very large. And what I had to sweep the yard wasn't a broom, it was some weed that they would cut or send me to cut. And then we cut the bundle of weed and tie it together. And after tying it together, we started sweeping the yard. Guys, sometime when I wasn't sweeping the yard, I was sent to clean the floor inside the house, and the house wasn't small. And while I was cleaning the floor, many of times I was very upset because while cleaning the floor, they were still walking inside the house while I was cleaning the floor. Okay? I remember that I started resenting where I was and resenting these people because I had no time to rest. And when I was, if I wasn't doing anything, if I tried to sit down, my auntie would be calling me, my uncle would be calling me. If my uncle and auntie is not calling me, right, my grandparents is calling me. If they are not calling me, someone else is calling me to send me to shop. When they are not sending me to shop, them sending me back to the standpipe. When they're not sending me back to the standpipe, them sending me to go all over the place, go look if me find the chicken egg them. When they are not sending me to find the chicken egg them, they are sending me to go and catch the chicken. And let me tell you, I was always on work. I was on work so much that before I left from my mother's house or my father's yard in Alexander Road to go to
As you
Manchester,
said, you went through a lot. They are
I
strong, they are very strong man.
I was a guy, a child who never urinate my bed. And while I was there in Manchester, right, at Red Bank, I started urinating the bed. And when I said I started urinating the bed, I find myself urinating the bed nightly. And no matter how I tried to stop, I was unable to. I realized that when I go to sleep at night, it was as if I was a dead person. And they would wake me up back early in the morning. And when I said early in the morning, when we come out in the morning, the star was still in the sky, and my grandfather had to go back to the farm. And him have on him pants and him water boat with him cutlass and stuff, and he was saying, "Come." And when him a step, me have to keep up with him. You understand me? I had to keep up with him to go to the farm. I must say, when I reached 6 years old, I started going to a school by the name of Mackintosh Memorial Primary School. And while going to Mackintosh Memorial Primary School in Manchester there, from the first day I reached there, I started getting bullied. There was this youth there where he was thicker and bigger than I was, and because I do not know how him know that I was what he call a town man, he decided that because me a town man, every day me forget beaten. And I remember after about a week, the following week when I reached school, I couldn't take it any longer. And I was in the devotion, and they came up and pushed me out of the line. because we had to line up in front of the school while devotion was being held before we could go inside class. And him came and pushed me out of the line. And I got hungry and I started wailing on him from all handle to the point where a teacher came and lifted me up. And when the teacher lifted me up, I was still kicking, and he got some blows in the face and such. And I remember they took me away and they had me sit in the class for a period of time. And that boy didn't pay me any mind after that. He started making sure that when I came to the pipe where we drink water, when him see me come, he would leave the pipe. If he was in the class and I came inside the class, he would find himself over on a different side. When he was at shop and my grandparents send me to the shop, or my uncle or auntie send me to the shop, and I go down there and I see him in the shop, he would come out the shop and stand up outside at a distance and wait on me to buy what me I buy and leave before him go back in the shop. I started feeling paranoid to the point where I was wondering what he was up to, because when I see him leave the shop when I came and he was in there before me and he was ordering and him just come out, I was looking to see if he was planning to attack me after I came out the shop. So I was very suspicious, you know. I remember at the same time while going to school there, I had a friend by the name of Arville. He lived close by in Red Bank, where I was living. And when I lived in the country and going to school at Macintosh, I used to have to make sure I eat my sugar turn cornmeal and drink my coffee tea before I go to school. And when I reach school and school give lunchtime, I had to run home from school to come back home to eat some more of my sugar turn cornmeal. And then I had to run back to school because the school was a good little distance from the home that I was living. And this was the case for a
You
period
get to
of
that
time.
still?
Yes. Yes, Nadine. Yes, babe. I had to be running to and from. You know, I started realizing that the children that were going to school was not eating turn cornmeal with sugar as I was eating. I realized that they were eating like bun and cheese and such. You understand me? And I started feeling like I wasn't anybody because I was eating different from the children, right? To the point where sometimes when them come, I just go over to them and take all them lunch from them and eat it. You understand? And it reached a stage where when I look me and say, no man, it's not right. So I stop. After a time, the same youth that was bullying me now, he started to hide in the bushes where the truck was that I walk in the morning and in the evening to go home and to come to school. He and a lot of other boys started hiding in the truck. And when they hid in the truck, they would then throw stones. And from time to time, my head would be burst, stone would lick me all over. And I remember one day I decided that Even though I did not see him or see the others, I assume and figure to myself that it's them. Okay? When I did this, I decided that one day this was going to stop. So I got two container at the time. And when I got the container at the time, I remember that I took the containers and walked up to a wasp nest that was in the tree. And I took the container and closed the container with the wasp nest in the middle and the wasp stem. And I pull it. And while walking with the container, you could hear the wasp them flying up and down in there, and they were licking on the container as if trying to get out. And I remember I took that container to his classroom where him and his other cronies were. And when I reached the classroom, I threw in the container and draw in the door. Right? And when I did that, they didn't see who it was, and there was them getaway in that classroom that day. I must say, guys, I was not accused, I was not punished, nor any such thing. You understand me? Until to the day they did not approach me or even said anything more to me after that. Presently, I have all the busted to show, and I must tell you that these guys, I don't know if they still live in Manchester, but I really and truly must say I had a very difficult life growing up with both mother, grandparents, step parents, and such. And that is why some while ago, while I was doing a live, I said to you guys that when you are leaving your children with people or persons, when they had to have to take care of your children for you because you might be getting an opportunity to go overseas and such, you need to make sure you find ways to communicate with your children. Okay, you need to be speaking with them on a regular basis because you do not know what is happening to your child. You understand me? Because while living there, I must say it was as if I was in a totally different hell. Guys, I went there from the age of 5, and at the age of 5, I had one pair of shoes when I went there, and I was wearing that pair of shoes from 6 years old up to when I was 10 years old. Imagine how much growth I did from I was 5 years old until 10, and I had the same pair of shoes. Guys, me told them full up in the shoes, and I had to wear that shoe same way. You understand? It wasn't easy, and this was not because my parents did not, my father did not have it. No, my father had it. My father worked at Kingston Wharf, and my father, where he lived, he was operating his shop, and he had his wife, which is my stepmother, and his daughter, which is my sister. But the moment he took me from my mother and took me to Manchester, I was dumped. You know, I was abandoned there, right? I was left there, and I was not spoken to for years. I did not see that man. You understand? For years, I did not see that man. So, guys, when you hear me speaking, I am speaking because these are things that I have experienced. I have been through it. And so I am able to sit down and relate and tell you guys a few things, right? Able to relate to some situation, to some things as well. And this is the reason why from time to time I do not deal with my children a certain way. Even though I have boys, I try to make sure that my boys grow totally different from how I grew up. You understand me? I did not say I was an angel, no. But I realized that I had to grow up hard. I had to grow up tough. And I was someone who decided that I was already hardworking. So guess what? That will not change. So, viewers, I am going to ask that if you have any question presently or have anything to say, I am going to be going to my counterpart and ask her to read the comments for me so I can respond if you are willing to hear and interact with me now. Nadine, we have any comments or any questions?
You just started another year for me to ask the question.
Okay. I thought you said persons were still texting, so
You know, but my time, I can respond
No,
to
you
it.
have to talk to me. Tell me
I
what was
tell you
there.
everything when them say you know listen to me, but them ask you the question and then you hear the answer.
So, that is my son brought me a soda. Thanks.
Take a drink, Dean.
A Carisha says, so don't.
Yeah.
Me know, man. Oh,
Is that the question?
boy.
Is that the question?
That's a command. That's not a question. That's a command.
But it's an ask question. The first thing. The first one is something I hear she said.
Carisha is the only one there.
No, classic. They could have asked that classic I got there upon her teeth.
Good night, Classic. How are you doing, girl? Everything good? Glad you're here. Because I know that you have other places and other life could be. But you're here. So thanks for the support. Thanks for the love. I appreciate. Also, I should say, I know that I just gave you.
Classic the curse keep the queen quiet.
Sure.
Sure.
I know that I have just informed you of my mother and her behavior, but listen, my mother died violently recently, but let me tell you, she did not die being that same person that she was when I was younger. My mother died being a Christian woman. She was a very devoted Christian when she died. She was very ambitious and she built her own homes, right? And also operated a business in the downtown Kingston area where she worked very hard and proudly to send um three of her children, not me and the second one, but the third, the fourth, and the fifth child, to schools all over the island, to places where they could obtain and achieve a skill. And even when my brother was sentenced to a juvenile home or a juvenile detention camp, she made sure that every visiting time she was there, he got his food, his money, and all of that. I must tell you that I grew to love her, right? After speaking back to her at the age of 13 years old, I grew to love her after speaking to her from then because she was not the same person. She was a totally different person by then. You understand? She was a person who was pushing her on cat and she was selling her bun and cheese and sky juice and all of that, and she moved from there to selling cook food and such. You understand me? So she was a very ambitious person after a few years, and I was very proud of her. So let me tell you, my younger siblings don't know the mom that I had, right? And my brother, who was after me, was taken from her.
Dean, if you were able to prosecute your mom, would you?
No, I would not. I would not because listen, when I sit down and analyze what was taking place with her, I spoke to her and asked her a few things. And after speaking to her about a few things, she answered me and let me know a few things that was really happening to her. And let me tell you the truth. She was with my father, who was the love of her life. And she had a best friend, and the best friend was her best friend, not my father best friend, Her best friend was her best friend. She was the one who was involved with my father. But somewhere along the line, my father started having relations with both of them, right? While having relations with both of them, my mother became pregnant with me, right? And the best friend that she had became pregnant also. Okay? So my father ended up having two child, which was me and my stepmother daughter. I was born 6 months before my stepmother's child. Now understand this because when I spoke to my mother, she was the one who informed me of this. She informed me that when she was pregnant, they both lived at an area in Duane Park off the boulevard in a one bedroom house. Okay. They were working on another bedroom and he was still working at the Kingston Wharf. And sorry, when she was pregnant with me, he came home one day and let her know that her friend was pregnant with his child and her parents, our family members, then put her out and she had nowhere to go. So both of them was going to have to live in the same house with him. My mother informed me that she wasn't going to sit with that because the moment he started having relations with her, which means her friend, she decided that the relationship between she and him was over. So when he said that to her, she told him that, listen, you don't have to worry about me. Just find somewhere to put she because I will be leaving. And she left. So she left with me inside her belly, pregnant. You understand me? And when she went out there, she started on her own, struggling. You understand me? So when I sit down and analyze the situation, I realize that when she always said to me, say, me favor, me poop and all of these things, you know, it's as if she was seeing a reminder of all that he did or the betrayal that he did where she was concerned. From my point of view, that was what she was seeing because they, based on what I learned, had a very good relationship until her friend came into the picture. Okay? They had a very good relationship.
Classic, your time now. Classic, ask your question.
Is there any more questions?
Classic, no, no, if you say that. She can't hardly talk Jamaican.
Classic ya all the time. Why you say classic ya all the
Yeah,
time,
because she
Jamaica?
probably not even know if it's.
Classic ya, yeah, what them a say you can hardly talk Jamaican. Them do
Not
nice,
even
though.
Jamaican, patois.
Patois. Then she
Yeah.
not have to talk patois, she should talk English then. Or type it.
So you should tell me to keep my king quiet.
Then hold on, the patois that
Not me. She really classic mental.
no, but when she type that, the patois that she type.
Or keep your king quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Classic, ask a question. I'm waiting. He's waiting.
Classic, what is your question? All right, like you might not know what to ask. My mom had five children.
Probably she gone to something and have to come back.
Okay. Some additional information. My mom had five children, four boys, one girl. Presently, two boys and one girl is still alive. And my sister is a perfect copy of my mother. And my sister is my sister that came from my mother's side, are out of my mother. She's a perfect copy of her. And she's a very, very loving girl. You know, she loves me and our brother. She loves our nephew. And I must tell you, she's also a very hardworking, progressive girl. So the truth is, I guess we got that from mother and then my father as well. So, guys, I have been with people, I grew up with people that have always been hardworking. I don't know if that's the reason why sometimes I feel as if I am not going to sit down. I just keep working, working, working. But, you know, Nadine, can you please put those pot on the stove inside the fridge? Put them up for me. Oh, I forget say persons are not able to talk here.
People classic say, D, we think your mom was abusive, boy.
Yes, she was. She was. And let me tell you something. When I realized that she was feeling a bit sorry was after she boiled off both my hands and then while cleaning she find the dollar that she burned my hand for. When she found that money, I believe that something else happened inside of her. I felt that she realized that what she was doing was not right. And when I had told her that I did not trouble the money because I didn't even know it was there,
She said she was extremely abusive.
right? She did not even know it was there. I did not even know it was there. I realized that she felt a way because I have never seen her sat down for any such period of time and just looking out of space. She was extremely abusive on a serious basis. She was. But when I realized and learned that she wasn't abusive to my younger siblings, which was the ones that was born like from the 82 coming up, I realized that, she was, I guess she was that way because she still had feelings for my father. Because let me tell you, even when I was way up in my 20s and such, and I spoke with her, she would always say to me, if I and your father had stayed together, we could have had mansions and business all over this island. That was something she said to me over and over. You understand me? So at the time, she was really telling me that because of the decision that they made, both of them were not financially stable, and they end up had to work harder than they would have had to if they were together. So I know she was abusive, but at the same time, when I grew up and started speaking, because listen, I had hatred for my mother when I was younger.
So
I
the
had,
hate was taken out on you
well,
when that
yeah,
decision.
I think that was it. You understand? I think that was it. She couldn't beat her friend, and she felt betrayed by what her man had done. You understand? So she was hiding me. And let me tell you why I know she was hiding me. Whenever time she took me to my father, he had no time with me. He had no time. Also, when my father came to the school and took me away, you understand me? It was the first time I have seen him in about a year and something, right? So it was a very long period I didn't see him. And when I spoke to her when I was older, she informed me that they even went to court. As a matter of fact, my father told me that she took him to court, and when she took him to court, the judge said that he should give her a certain amount to take care of me. And when she started having more children, she decided that that wasn't enough. So she took him back to court again. And when she took him back to court this time, the judge then said, reduce the amount that she was getting. When the judge informed my father to reduce the amount, my father said he decided that he would not reduce the amount. He would continue to give her the same amount on a monthly basis. So even though she was going to him on a monthly basis and collecting money from him to take care of me, I wasn't able to see her visit him because she was making sure that he was not going to see me. But behind the scene, she was hurt so much that it's as if she was taking everything out on me. You understand? So I realized when I got older and realized that she was a totally different person, that I couldn't hold on to the hatred anymore because I hated my mother so much that when I came back from the country at 10 years old and I started living on the street, I did not speak with her. I walked past her and she didn't know it was even me. I walked past her, go walk past her, come, and she didn't know it was me. One day I went to her and tell her to sell me a bun and cheese and a sky juice. And when I collect the bun and cheese and sky juice and paid for it, I left her cart, got to the bus stop and was standing there waiting on the bus. And she came by and walked around me 2 times, and then she come back to the front and look and say, Dean? And I say, yes, Anna. So That was it. She didn't even know it was me because I walked past her so often and didn't say hi. And I knew it was her because I was told by my stepmother where she sell and how
Where she said.
what she sell, where she
Oh,
sell, and how a hand card she push because these were things that I was mounted with. Anyway, that is for another life. You understand?
any more question? Any more question? Evening, Kristen.
So guys, anything else? I must say, what time is it now, Nadine?
8:50.
8:50. So guys, I will be here for another 10 minutes.
Kersha said no more question.
No more questions. So Kerisha, I want to close the live in another 10 minutes. Okay. So I would be okay to go to 9 o'clock. Okay. It is now 8:50. So I do not know.
You were awesome.
Thanks very much. Thanks very much. I must say at times some things I am a person who keep inside, but sometimes when I look back and remember some things I say, I am planning that one day I will be writing some books, and because of that, I know that I am able to, if I have the right management and assistance and so on, you know. So I am thinking in that direction, because a lot of things that I have been through. Let me tell you, when I was younger and saw that soldier came into the yard the day after him juke me with his firearm. When I turn around and look at the gentleman that juke me, his eyes were totally blue. I was looking in the gentleman eye and I was seeing the sea behind him. Because when you're where I was in Anatown, you can see the sea and the sea is like up in the sky. And everything was blue and his eyes were totally blue. And I thought to myself that, how am I stay so? When I get big, I want to be just like him. You understand me? I wanted to be a soldier. That was what I thought, you know? And when I saw that they kick in the television, I started saying that not right. You understand? That not right because that TV was just, and even though it was a little black and white, and I don't think she had all that much money because at the time that was 4 years down. At 4 years from the day when I was born, my mother was on her third child. You understand? She was on her third child. Her third child was in her hand. Weekly's at the gate, Nadine. Look at who.
Mm-mm. Yeah.
Her third child was in her hand. So really and truly, she was hard and she was cruel. And I realized that I and my brother might have gotten a blunt of it, but my brother father was close by and in the picture. You understand me? So he didn't really go through what I went through. As a matter of fact, most of the time I got beaten for him. But it didn't bother me and I didn't mind it because he was not going through what I was going through. At the same time, she wasn't abusive to him. You understand? She was not abusive to him. So I was okay because that brother that followed me was, it was like my own skin. The way how I loved him. You understand me? I loved him so much that no matter where I was going.
What would you say to kings through abuse?
To what?
Kings through abuse.
Kids are king.
Kids through abuse.
Kids through abuse. I don't understand the question.
What would you say to kings? Almost who abuse, you know, like who abuse Shanice, say what you say, kids, THROUGHT, GH. What you would say to kids?
I would say it is hard.
What would you say to kids going through
Okay.
abuse?
Abuse. Okay. Kids going through abuse need to understand that they have to find someone who is trustworthy to speak to in this time, right? They have to find someone who is trustworthy to speak to. The reason why I said that is because when I look at my situation, the only one that was there during my situation was God. God Almighty was the only one that was there. And I knew and realized this the morning that my hand was in the cheese pan of boiling water and there was no help. I knew and realized this when the electric wire started cut me up and she hit me in the head with the Dutch pot. I realized that I was with someone that could kill me at any time. And I had no one to speak to. But let me tell you something, because the yard that we were living in, we were the only one living in that yard. But there were persons out on the sidewalk that sells on a daily basis that knew that we were living in that yard and we were being abused inside that yard, because sometimes the abuse did not start inside the house at all time, but the moment she reached the gate and we were anywhere on the outside, it started from there. So persons have must have seen it. You understand me? But during the period of time that we grew up, a lot of attention was not given to children that were abused. Now it's way different because now you have CDA and you have children rights group, you have a lot of different agencies that are being set up that manage children that are being abused and are able to take actions where abuse is, taking place with children. So I like the fact that the system was changed to accommodate these children and to make sure that they are not being abused. But even though systems are there, they are still being abused. And I pray that they speak to someone whom they are able to trust, who is willing to go the extra mile to make sure that they get some form of assistance concerning getting them out of the abusive situation that they are in. Because at times, when you report to someone that this is happening to you and that is happening to you, they tend to go to the parents or the abuser who is abusing you. And when they go to the abuser then say something or tell them something totally different. And they then become comfortable with what the abuser said.
Yes, true.
And then that abuser come back to give you double the abuse that you was experiencing before. You understand? So sometimes you have to be careful who you're going to trust, right? Because abuse come in many different forms, shape, you understand me? And ways. Because a person can be abusive verbally, abusive physically, abusive even by actions. So they knew, the abuser know how to do their thing. They know how to do their thing. They know how, all right, a person who is abusing someone and does not want to get caught or does not want to leave any proof. I have read about persons who put soap in rag and beat their children and what have you, just to make sure that even though they are giving them hefty blows, no mark is left to prove that they did the action. You understand? Persons have, let me tell you, when my mother used to tie me up in the house and left, it was really terrible, because listen me, sometime when the people lick me, me can't move from the spot, if me people there, you see when she come in, she kill me. Because guess what happened? She's making me know plain and straight say, me better hold that. Imagine when you urinate from how long and nobody not there for the past 6, 7, 8 hours. What happened when me fi do though? So that was the reason. No, but listen, these were things that I was experiencing, Nadine. And this was why there was a time when I had to use my teeth to pull the card, the cloth that I was tied up with. You understand me? I'm going to do what me I do and relieve myself. You understand? I had to pull the thing and then try tie it back in a way where she don't know. Ah. So guys, thanks for being with me here on this live. Thanks for spending 2 hours with me. Thanks for listening to what I have to say. I must say my conscience is clear that I have spoken the truth, and I appreciate you guys. Thanks for your support and love. And please, I'm asking you to be safe, okay? And make sure that you are covered under the blood of Jesus Christ. So, thank you for sharing or for
Nadine,
listening.
tell Dean not to use this keyword on YouTube.
Oh, okay, all right, all right.
Okay, because
The L1, the M1 can use.
by Nadine and Dean.
All right,
Thank
very
Dean
good.
and Nadine. Good night. Okay,
All right.
turning it now.
Yes, I can't stop it. Oh, you stop it.